I don't know about you, but I continue not to understand what congressional Democrats are doing, or more accurately, are doing, especially their so called leadership, when it comes to fighting against encroaching fascism in America. Parties out of power have very few options. I know this. But they do have certain tools at their disposal to slow down, if not entirely stop, the erosion of our democracy the Republicans seem so hell bent on carrying out. Democrats' biggest weapon is messaging. They can hold shadow hearings in which they expose the worst depredations of Donald and the Trump regime. Such hearings, yes, would have no real authority. I understand that too. They would have no enforcement mechanisms, but they could alert the American people to the threats being posed to them by the party in power. Every day, Democrats in Congress could settle on the most important message of the day and hit every single outlet to get the word out consistently and constantly that the Trump regime, in this very specific way, is going after our rights, engaging in blatantly unconstitutional behavior, and undermining our democracy with its corruption and anti American agenda. Yet, I hear nothing. I see no evidence of a coordinated plan to alert the American people to the harsh realities of our current situation, or to convince the American people that, in addition to understanding the state of play, the Democratic Party has a plan to get us out of this mess and put this country on stronger footing so we are never in this vulnerable position again. This isn't about policy or politics. This is about wanting our leaders to fight for us and our democracy. So, what really is happening here? Are congressional Democrats feeling so powerless they can't be bothered? Are they afraid of retribution? Are they just sick of it all and punching the clock until they can find something better to do? Or do they think they're going to get something in exchange for sucking up to Donald and letting him do whatever he wants? A lot of people have been fighting with everything they have over the last decade, and for our party leaders to shrug their shoulders as if there's nothing they can do about it can have a demoralizing effect on Democratic voters, which will not end well for us in future elections. After the November 2024 election, Biden's team was guilty at best of misplaced optimism, or at worst, seeming no longer to care what happened to this country. The fact that Biden went to the inauguration in January 2025 was bad enough, but he welcomed Donald home, the man who started the big lie, the man who incited an insurrection against his own government, the man who never acknowledged Biden's win in 2020 and, in fact, accused President Biden of stealing that election, and who never went to Biden's inauguration. It makes it worse that Donald continues to perpetuate the big lie. It still stings that Biden didn't stand up to that, because it helped to legitimize the incoming regime in a way that provided cover for the corruption, the authoritarianism, and the fascism of Donald and the rest of the Republican Party. I'm not entirely sure where some of these Democrats have been for the last 10 years, but the idea that congressional Democrats continue to think that Donald Trump deserves the benefit of the doubt, or that their colleagues in the House and Senate can be trusted, is galling. The Democratic Party is currently the only entity standing between us and fascism, and yet congressional Democrats remain leaderless and seemingly ill-equipped to deal with or even recognize that we are no longer a country in which the old rules apply. When one side tramples on norms and traditions and willingly engages in autocratic and fascistic tactics while openly flouting the Constitution, it's not acceptable for the only power that still believes in democracy to insist upon playing by rules that no longer exist, especially as doing so will almost ensure that we lose our democracy. I'm not attacking Democrats for the sake of attacking Democrats, but I pulled my punches during the election when Joe Biden was the candidate and then when Kamala Harris was the candidate, because it was so important that we make sure Donald never get near the levers of power again. As I said back in the fall of 2020, to do so would mean the end of the American experiment, and here we are. Yet it never felt like established Democrats saw it that way. From day one of the transition on November 6, 2024, it has been breathtaking to see the party's lack of leadership and direction and sense of urgency. Just to highlight the kinds of disinformation, the climate in which we are currently existing, I want to read something that Speaker of the House Mike Johnson posted on Twitter recently. He wrote, quote, Democrats across the nation have played politics with redistricting for decades, and this is just the latest example. Republicans who are following state and federal laws will not be lectured by people who abuse the system, unquote. Johnson, who is entirely without conscience, is, of course, trying to justify the egregious power grab Texas Republicans are engaging in. And it should surprise absolutely no one that Johnson is lying through his teeth. Many blue states have independent commissions that protect against exactly the kind of illegal gerrymandering Texas Republicans just pulled off. States like California and New York have adopted these protocols in which independent, nonpartisan panels use census data to draw equitable congressional maps so that voters in those states are fairly represented. Most red states don't go to such trouble because, obviously, they're immoral and power hungry, and they have no problem drawing highly partisan maps mid-cycle as long as they favor Republicans. The inaction of congressional Democrats is particularly mystifying in the wake of such obvious attempts by the Republicans to steal the 2026 election out from under them. Luckily, governors in blue states are catching on. J.B. Pritzker of Illinois, Gavin Newsom of California, and even Kathy Hochul of New York are taking the kind of no-holds-barred approach that these times and Republicans' unconstitutional and anti-American actions call for. Newsom has been fighting back on social media by beating Donald at his own game. Last week, he posted this on Twitter in all caps, quote, Donald is finished. He is no longer hot. First the hands, so tiny, and now me, Gavin C. Newsom, have taken away his step. Many are saying he can't even do the big stairs on Air Force One anymore. Uses the little baby stairs now. Sad. All the television cameras are on me, America's favorite governor. Even low ratings Laura Ingraham edits the tapes. Can't stop talking about my beautiful maps. You're welcome for Liberation Day, America. Donnie J missed the deadline. Whoops. And now I run the show. Thank you for your attention in this matter. GCN. Unquote. I think that was a beautiful thing. But does it matter? Yes, it matters. Why? Well, mockery is one of the most effective tools against the tyrant, especially one as insecure and thin-skinned as Donald. Also, it is important to demonstrate that we can meet him on his territory and beat him at his own game. Then there's Governor Hochul, who, like Pritzker, is getting right to the heart of the matter and demonstrating that she not only understands what's at stake, but is willing accurately to define the terms of this fight. Recently, Governor Hochul had this to say.
These brave public servants are taking a stand, a strong stand, against a blatant power grab that's happening in their state as we speak. And this will have implications, not just in Texas, but for our entire nation and its future. History will judge us on how we respond to this moment. But here in New York, we will not stand on the sidelines with the timid souls on the sidelines who don't care, will not invest their heart and soul into this battle. This is a war. We are at war. And that's why the gloves are off, and I say, bring it on.
Of course, Governor Hochul is referring to the debacle in Texas, which the Republicans actually succeeded in winning. They are going to get their extra 5 seats, and it is good to know that Democratic governors of both California and New York are willing to counterattack, presumably by adding more Democratic seats in those states. And then I want to take a look at Michelle Wu, the Democratic mayor of Boston, who had the following to say in the wake of threats levied against her city's status as a sanctuary city by the Department of Homeland Security.
Boston received a letter from the Attorney General of the United States on official letterhead from the federal government threatening to prosecute city officials and withhold federal funds unless we cooperate with carrying out mass deportations. These threats are serious and consequential. But our same communities have told me loud and clear that silence in the face of oppression is not an option. The U.S. Attorney General asked for a response by today. So here it is. Stop attacking our cities to hide your administration's failures. Unlike the Trump administration, Boston follows the law. And Boston will not back down from who we are and what we stand for. We will not back away from our community that has made us the safest major city in the country and a leading example of why cities around the country make this country safer, healthier, and more prosperous for all Americans.
Whether it's Republican attacks on immigrants or Republican attacks on the franchise, we must face the threats they pose to this country and its people with eyes wide open. We cannot pull our punches anymore. We cannot pretend that what is obviously happening isn't happening. We are at war. Let all of us act accordingly. Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.